Is that us all good to go?
Yeah, so we'll probably get a couple more drips and drabs, Jamie. But if you want to make a start, you carry on, not a problem at all.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm happy to wait another couple of seconds, a couple of minutes or so. If we're just going to wait for a few stragglers to come in.
Yeah, no worries at all.
If anyone wants to, so I'll do my thing, my bit, which will probably be about sort of 25 to 30 minutes, and then I'm open for questions. And I always say this right at the beginning, right? I'm very honest, very open, very approachable. If you've got any questions at all, please feel free to ask me. You can also put them in the chat, but what I tend to do, I got two screens, so I tend to turn everybody off when I'm on a Zoom call and put everything over on my other screens, so I don't necessarily see the chat until afterwards, but we will go on, and I'm sure Nathan will be able to keep an eye on it for us as well. So any questions, please feel free to ask at the end. It's all good. So how many we got? 29. Awesome. Okay, so Nathan, do you want me to crack on, buddy?
Yeah, if you could, Jamie, that'd be great. Thank you.
No problems. Okay, so first off, I want to thank Nathan and the whole of Legacy for inviting me today and asking me to be a part of this event. It's a subject that is actually still quite dear to my heart, but hopefully what I have to say today will have an impact or will give someone in the room a little bit of an inspiration or a motivational moment. So that's what my initial aim is.
My speech almost got implied.
So first off, let me say hello and thank you for having me once again. And so we start. So who am I and why am I here? Well, my name is Jamie Mcnash. I'm an adaptive athlete. I'm a writer. I'm a multi-award winner, including the prestigious Charles Holland Award. I'm an entrepreneur, but most of all, I'm also a survivor. And that is the fundamental reason why I'm here today. So my aim is to help you understand how life can change without warning. That once this has happened, we are faced with options and challenges. And every day becomes a learning day. And that's for the very young, right up to the very old. But that is not something to fear. It is change. And change is something to explore, to enjoy. I want to talk about mental health very, very briefly. Mental health is often considered as a negative thing. It's not. It's just a thing. It's something that we all live with every single day of our lives. But before I really start, I want to share a saying with you by another motivational speaker called Janir Bratas. And it's a quote that kind of puts mental health into some form of context. And the quote is this: if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. And if you are at peace, you are living in the present. So I just want you to have a think about that for a moment. Okay. And I want you to remember that and accept this quote as a gift from me to you. It's something that I live by. It is something that I try and put into practice on a daily basis. And it is now what I use to try and keep myself present, to understand the now, and to try to not let my mind rule my decisions. So I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm going to take you on a little journey of ups and downs, twists and turns. Like I said before, I'm very honest about my life and the experiences that I've had along the way. So let me show you that it is the head that will guide you so far, but deep down, it is the heart that will make you reach your destinations. So my story, or this story, starts 7 years ago. It was the 6th of January. It was a normal day, as it had been for all the other days of my life. I went to bed perfectly normal, the same I had done every day from that point before. However, with the click of the fingers and right out the blue, my life got turned upside down and inside out forever. On the 7th of January, 2014, I woke up paralyzed from the waist down. Now, I want to make it very clear that this is a very rare situation to be faced with. And it was caused by a viral infection known as shingles. And that condition affected my spine. I have now been left with a degenerative condition called complex regional pain syndrome. It's a neurological condition that affects the sensory nerves in my lower limbs. And literally, for me, life will never be the same again. This neurological condition is degenerative, and my future is unknown. No one understands the condition completely, nor do they know what my future lies for. But many people with CRPS lose limbs. Many of them, unfortunately, may pass away due to internal organ failure because the nervous system's not working correctly. I don't know what my future lies for me, but what I do know is right now I'm in the present, and that's the bit that makes the most. So at the time, initially when I fell ill, at that time, my home instantly became a cage that I could no longer leave. Seeing people became difficult as my independence had been completely shattered. I relied solely on those around me for the support and assistance that I needed for everyday tasks. Tasks such as washing, cooking, dressing, all the basic skills that I now had to relearn as a disabled man. In time, I went out, but my mental health had taken somewhat of a battering. I struggled with depression and anxieties that I didn't even know were real things. I felt lost in a world that I thought I knew all too well. Life in a wheelchair for me was not an easy start. Curbs became cliff edges, towns and shops became mazes, and I felt completely reliant on the help of those around me. Now, a little bit of a backstory is I have spent 5 years in the army at this point. I've served in 5 conflicts around the world. I've been shot, I've been stabbed, and I've even been blown up. And for a very short period of time, I was even a prisoner of war. And here I am, frightened to leave the house without someone being with me. I had become a burden on those around me, a disappointment to myself, and a drain on society. Now, this all came too much for me. And after a sudden hit of serious depression, um, I let it all out. I let it all get too much for me. And after a drug overdose, that led to hospitalization. And with that, the reality of what I was truly going through hit home. Lying in a hospital bed, a friend came in to see me, and I spoke out for the first time in my life. I told him how I felt. I spoke about my fears. And to be completely honest, that release was life changing. I cried like I've never cried before. I got angry at the situation I was in. I let out my frustrations of being stuck in a body that, in my opinion, was failing me. But this was me, the soldier, the strong one, the independent one. I was that guy that was always okay, always smiling, always laughing. I was the guy that everyone else came to with their problems because they knew full well that I would find an answer. All in all, in my opinion, I was a good guy. And now I was just, again, in my opinion, a waste of space with nothing left to live for. My friend, who had not said a great deal during that period, and it was a few hours, simply said that, why don't you try sport? At first, I was a bit, dude, I've just spread my life out to you. What's sport going to do? And his actual answer was, who knows, but you've got nothing to lose. And from there, my life changed once again forever. With sport, I found fellowship, and that fellowship created a light that I so desperately needed. All of a sudden, I was surrounded by a support network, a community that encouraged me to be better. They push me to be the best that I can be. But also with sport, that helps to relieve the stress of day to day situations. My life took a drastic positive turn at a time when I was at the lowest I'd ever been, all because of one person. So I'm going to ask you to remember this. My life was saved because someone was willing to listen. Simple as that. He didn't try to fix me. He didn't try to change me. He didn't really try to give me the answers. He simply listened. So if you have nothing to say, then be the one that listens, because you are so important to that individual. There's another saying, I've got lots of these and you'll hear them throughout my talk, is to the world, you are a mere speck of dust. But to someone, you may be the world. And certainly that person who saved my life became my world for a short period of time, all because he was willing to listen. Now, we are currently in and out of lockdown. Many of us don't really know what's happening. We're unable to go out and see our friends and hug our loved ones. Chances are some of you are kind of in that position right now where you have a direct empathy for what I've been through on my journey. So this lockdown and isolation was a bit of a breeze for me. For many of you, the idea of actually seeing a three-dimensional person is rather exciting. For others, it will give you a little sense of uncertain times. But times are difficult. And I have no doubt that many of you will also be struggling with what has been branded the new ways. But remember that there are people around you who truly care about you. Remember that it is okay to admit that you are not okay. And it is the support of fellowship that will grow resistance. For many of you, again, young and old, in your time in lockdown, you may have become more confident in yourself, but not so sure about life in the big outdoors. And I respect that. I can remember it very, very well. In my early days, in the safety of my own home, I knew exactly where I was and what I was doing. In the big wide world, I was a little bit more lost. And so that wasn't always the case. However, 7 years on, I have now been disabled for 7 years. I have learned new ways to adapt to my new life. I have found sport and friends in new areas. And life has actually, for me, become one long adventure. I found an inner strength that I did not have before, but those lessons came with their own challenges. And that's the point. Now, I look back very briefly and I see a life that now I don't really remember, because the life I have now is so much better. I am free of the things that once held me back, and I'm driven by the things that I want to achieve. I am proud of the fact that I was the first person to climb Penny Van Mountain on my bare hands. I went on to compete a range of challenges. I jumped out of an airplane at 15,000 feet, hand cycled 100 miles in 13 hours, completed a marathon, and in 2015, I raised £250,000 for a range of charities in that process. I completed 12 challenges in 12 months, and each of them was more extreme than the last. The next year, I was then nominated and won the prestigious Charles Holland Award. I won the Greatest Achievement Award, and I pioneered for disabilities. I became the first person in a wheelchair to compete the 30K hike across the Brecon Beacons, to complete the Watford Challenge. And currently, I'm still the only person in a wheelchair ever to have achieved that. I set new standards in sport and became the first disabled person to compete in a Welsh squash against able-bodied players. I was the only person there with a low body impairment. And to date, I'm still the only lower body impairment player. 4 months after I competed in the Welsh Masters, I traveled to Europe, and I stood in the lineup with my GB badge in the European Masters as the only disabled person ever to compete in a European Masters tournament. Now, I never won, genuinely never won a game, but I never lost. I learned. And every point that I took, I earned. And every point I took, for me, was a win. You don't always win the big competitions. You don't always win the big challenges, but you have to celebrate the small wins. And for me to take a single point off an able-bodied player was a small win, and I celebrated every single one of them. I've started playing basketball for Cardiff. I've played rugby for Wales. With squash and hand cycling, I've effectively now been capped for my country 6 times in 3 different sports. big point I want to make is I'm not academic in any way, shape, or form. My teacher once told me that the only numbers I would make up were numbers in the dole queue or benefits queue. Let me tell you now, you don't have to be academic to show scholarship, and you don't have to climb a mountain to aim for the summit of your goals and dreams. But you do need a goal, and you do need your dreams. My other top tip is don't worry about a B plan. Work as hard as you physically can on plan A and make it work, and you will never need to worry about plan B. Now, I promised you ups and I promised you downs. And with that, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a whistle stop tour to 2017. In 2017, my life came crashing down around me once again. My wife at the time sat me down and she told me two things. She said she did not love me anymore and she did not find me attractive anymore. And for that, she wanted a divorce. Now, I've witnessed something that day, something that I thought I'd witnessed before, but never really witnessed. I witnessed someone being truly honest with herself, regardless of the outcome. And I have always, from that day to this, respected that decision that my ex-wife made. And as a result, yes, we got divorced. But I didn't have time to worry about that because 6 weeks after that, I got diagnosed with cancer. And for me, the battle had once started. I had to dig deep to find a way through. But this time, I had grown in my capability of resilience. The friendships that I had formed were there for me once again. And when times are good, and this is the key note here, when times are good, I step up to the plate for those around me. Because when times are bad, I know that I now have the support network of those who are forever grateful for the fellowships and the friendships that we have formed. But remember that those relationships are a two-way street. So chemo, it took its toll, right? First, there is the heat. Then there is the sickness. I couldn't keep food down. And all in all, I was losing weight in a very non-healthy way. I soon realized that actually I needed more help than first thought. So I moved back in with my mum. 2 weeks after moving home, I found my mum collapsed on the living room floor. It was 3 a.m. and it was her 66th birthday. And for her special gift that year, she was diagnosed with a 3-inch brain tumor. The lady that I had all my life looked up to as my rock and my support now needed me more than ever before. But in fact, we actually needed each other. So my mum's my hero, right? And means the absolute world to me. And just so happened that we ended up with the same doctor and the doctors were brilliant. And when I was having my treatment, she wouldn't have hers. And this meant that she could care for me. But then when she was having her treatment, I was then free and able to care for her. Now, this is the importance of the bond between a parent and a child. And however, this bond is not something that many people will ever experience. But for me, it is a priceless time of my life, and I will always hold that dear. But all of this time, I still worked as hard as I could at the sports that I was involved in, and actually only missing one basketball game and 2 squash competitions in that whole period. That year, we won the national playoffs and became league champions. I may have been at the time the team's weakest link, but the team stood by me and gave me the support when I needed it. And that is how we won. Not because I was the best or worst player, but because I was part of the best team, a team that worked together, a team that valued the strengths and the weaknesses of each player. And most of all, that year, I was part of a team that finished that season undefeated. So why am I sharing that with you? Why am I sharing all of the story? Well, simply because I want to teach you that life comes at us sometimes from new directions. And we are faced with challenges that we may not have expected to have to be faced with. I mean, no one could have predicted 2020, right? But the truth of the matter is, we faced it. And all the way through our journey, and all of you have got a story, and all of the way through your journey, you will find that you have tried and you have failed. That is life. But when you get back up and try again, at some point, doesn't matter how many times you fail, if you keep getting back up, at some point you will succeed. But not only will you succeed, you'll stand out from the crowd. And with that, you will become a leader in your field, respected in your chosen career path, and known as someone who never gives up. I'm actually here today because I gave up and because I failed. I'm here today because of that, I now never give up. And now I'm here because I will always get back up. What I'm not here to be, though, is a burden of bad news, but I am here to be honest and truthful. Failing is the stepping stone to success. Don't fear failure. Respect it, own it, even relish in it, but never give in to it. You will need real heart. You will need your heart to drive you to your goal. And remember that when you reach your summit, you are in fact only halfway there. You still need to get back down. So never look at your goal and think that's what I'm working for. Work to exceed your goal. That is why I'm here today, talking to you, sharing my story. You see, I'm not a superhero, far from it. I'm just a guy with heart, passion, and ambition. And yes, I have faced down my biggest enemy of all time, my own mind. But I have fought on. I have braved the storms and taken the opportunities that have been presented to me and made the most of them. All my life, I've been told what I could not do. In school, I was the thick kid. When I became ill, I was told of all the things that was out of my reach. They said, you can't. I heard, yes, I can. They told me what I couldn't do. I only heard what I could do. And then I set about finding a way to make it happen. And I have also survived many, many failings. And here I am now. Am I successful? Yes. Am I rich? No, not in money, but I am rich in time, health, and happiness. And that's invaluable. With my sport and achievements, I have blown everyone's expectations. And then I started to think about actually taking that to the next step. With my adventurous endeavors, I have looked at my dreams, I have set my goals, and then I thought bigger. With my company, See No Bounds, I have tested and failed, tested and failed. I have re-looked at my options and then spent hours working out the plans to make it work. In January 2020, I was running a very successful dropship company. However, that started to struggle. Why? Because my stock was stuck in China. No one's fault, and no way for it to be resolved. It was stuck in China because we were going through storms. And then my motivational speaking gig got cancelled all in one day. 150 speaking gigs cancelled in one day. Why? Because we entered a world pandemic. I mean, who could have predicted that? No one, except Wimbledon. They predicted it. But the truth I want to ask you is, did I sit down and let myself be beaten? No. I looked at the situation I was faced with and respected it. I got back up and accepted what I was faced with, and then we as a company reformed. And now, See No Bounds is the UK's first online community centre. We are signing up companies to our business directory on a daily basis. We created a community in a time when all we had left was the communities around to offer support, knowledge, skill swapping, and connections. The world is changing, and we are all having to change with it. But with change comes great things. I'm here to tell you that nothing is out of your reach. When I was learning to walk, my physio asked me to set myself a goal. I said, I've got a goal, Everest. She smiled and simply said, I tell you what, Jamie, let's get you standing, maybe walking across the room first, shall we? 6 months later, I climbed Penny Van on crutches under my own steam. I'll remind you once again that you need a goal. You need to give that goal everything you have. If you aim and work hard enough, then you will not only achieve your goal, but you will smash your goal. I want to tell you now that you guys, every one of you in this room, you are the future. You are the stars of this show. I'm proud to be here today to offer you a guardian light, showing you that we may be in strange times, but what we are actually doing, ladies and gentlemen, is pioneering the so-called new ways. In the future, you will sit down with your loved ones and share how you was the first to discover online learning, online networking, and having meetings and selling products, events, and services while not even leaving your own house. You were delivered into some of the strangest times in history, a time that we have not experienced in the last 100 years. And yet, you've still achieved everything that you are aiming to achieve. The first to test and develop the so-called new ways. And together, effectively, we have all created history, changed the face of the world forever. Remember that you are the future. Every single one of you has the power to make a difference. Now, finally, before I finish up, I want to have a little chat with you about Everest. My dream, my ultimate goal. My dream of climbing Everest has been real since I was 7 years old. I was 33 years old when I woke up paralyzed. Why had I not followed that dream before? And in an instant, that dream was crushed. Now, I worked hard to learn how to walk. I pushed myself to climb mountains, and boom, I felt I was ready. So the date was set, May the 2nd, 2020. Everest was going to be mine. And as I'm sure you can all imagine, that didn't happen. So we've moved the date to April 2021. Yeah, that's not going to happen either. So we've moved the date now to 2022. However, the mountain isn't going anywhere, right? And in 2022, I'm taking my team and my crutches, and I will climb my mountain. I will reach my goal. And Everest will wait for me. My dream has been crushed several times now, but it has never been killed. And I will reach my summit. And believe me when I say this, so will each and every one of you, as long as you give it your all. So, ladies and gentlemen, if what I have shared with you today helps just one person in this room, then I will happily sleep tonight knowing that what I do makes a difference. And remember that you are the future. So never fail, never fall, never quit. Always get back up. Thank you very, very much.
Hiya, Jamie. It's Nathan here. I can't thank you enough for coming onto this call. I smiled the whole way through that. I think it's an absolutely fantastic story. I've got Rianne on next to me asking me whether or not you are a motivational speaker, because I think you've hit home with her as well. I can't imagine the other 44 attendees on this call, how they're thinking, but you've really inspired me on this call, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Absolute pleasure. I'm very open to questions. And if anyone wants to ask me anything, like genuinely, I will answer it because I'm very honest about my journey. So yeah, feel free to ask away.
Jamie, if it's okay, I'm just going to pop a quick poll onto the screen, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone can answer. It's a numeracy poll from 1 to 10, and it's just how inspired you are by Jamie's story. And again, as Jamie said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask him. Thank you.
Am I allowed to answer? I'm going to put a 10.
I wish I'd put an 11 on there now.
I have a question for Jamie.
Yeah, sure. Not sure who it is.
Yeah, my name's Jacob.
Oh, hi, Jacob.
So my question for you is, when you kept on obviously getting pushed back, how did you find the motivation to keep going? Obviously, it was your goal and your dream, but how did you find that motivation? Where did you get the motivation from to keep pushing towards Mount Everest?
So, Jacob, that's a fantastic question, right? And look, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I didn't always. Do you know what I mean? I have bad days, right? And I still have bad days now. And I have days that are really hard to kind of get through. And I call them muddy puddle days. And the reason why I call them muddy puddle days is because as a wheelchair user, pushing through mud is an absolute nightmare. And that's why I call them muddy puddle days. But if you push hard enough, you will get through the mud and you will get on your journey. But one of the things that I always do is I respect myself and I respect those around me. So I respect that I'm having a bad day. And I tell people, and because muddy puddle days now has almost become like a little bit of a code in this in my home with my family. And Charlotte will say, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm just having a muddy puddle day." And she just respects it. And she knows that, you know what, I'm just having a bad day. And sometimes that's okay as well. So I respect myself and I give myself time to recover from those days. But let me tell you, when I put my mind to something, there's very little that will stop me. I can remember being halfway up a mountain and thinking to matter of fact, most challenges I've ever done, halfway through, I think to myself, whose stupid idea was this? And then I have to remind myself that it was mine and I'm the only person to blame. But that always gives me a real sense of achievement and drive. But I love achieving stuff and I love being at the finish line. And I love going, do you know what? I did that. I done that. And that's a massive driving force for me. So yeah, the sort of roundabout answer to you is I get driven by my own ambition, but I also understand and respect that I can't always be that way. So sometimes I just have bad days, and I just respect them and welcome them, and then enjoy the days that I'm having good days. I hope that answers the question.
Hi, Jamie. We've got a message here, a question here from Jeff. And
Yeah.
he's asking, what do you contribute to conquering your mental health?
Simple. Respect it. Okay. We all have mental health, right? It's good and bad, right? We all have it. We all live with it. We all have to have it. Those people that, dance around the place, constantly happy, they should be in Butlins. And I've got a lot of time and respect for them. Don't get me wrong. However, it's not human. Okay. Human is to have bad days and good days. I certainly have bad days, right? But I do have good days. And it's simple as that. It's the similar question to answer Jacob. I respect the bad days and I let them be. If I broke my arm, I would rest my arm. And if I've broken my mental well-being for a period of time, I allow it to rest and then relook at the subject. The worst thing you can do is to let it go on. And because what happens then, if you broke your arm, you go to the hospital, right? And you would get it put in a cast and you would have it looked at and you'd get it fixed. The same goes for your mental health, your mental well-being. I've got very few friends. Okay. I'm not a massive person with hundreds of friends around me and millions of people. I have a very selected friend choice and they all have very different uses within my life. Right. So I've got one friend, which I'll talk to you about. So it's a husband and wife. Now, if I ever want to be slapped around the face and told to get a grip, I go to the wife, right? I go to Rian because she's like blunt. She's straight to the point. She's like, you're being an idiot sort of stuff out. But if I want someone that I just want to chat about general stuff and I want to talk rubbish to, and I want to forget all the other crap that's going on in my life, I go to Nathan, her husband, who is my best mate. And we'll just chat about stuff. And even though sometimes those boundaries do cross, and I'll talk to Nathan about my well-being and stuff, and we'll have a good chat. And listen, there's many a time I've sat on a bucket and cried my eyes out, right? That's cool as well. So it's not, it doesn't always mean like you may have a group of friends, but the best way to deal with any situation is to find the right person that will help you through that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that this friend isn't a friend because they can't help you through that. It just means that this is the friend that helps you with your, gardening if you need to do something there, or this friend helps you with your mental health. This friend helps you because you go out and you ride your push bike with them, or whatever the situation is. Respect the people around you because they all have their own little jobs in and out of your life. But just make sure that with your friends, you will also have that job and step up to the plate when they need it. And that is how I always conquered my mental well-being, is I've utilized my friends and my support network that's around me. I hope that's answered your question there, Jeff, because I know that was a bit of a long-winded answer.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jamie. We have another question here from Rhiannon, who asks, do you think your time in the army helped with your resilience?
Yeah, definitely. The army taught me how to adapt and overcome, right? And it also taught me how to face adversity. And I learned a lot in the army. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not one of these, I was in the army type people, right? Yeah, I was in the army for 5 years. I don't necessarily, live by the military code. I was a funeral director for 5 years. I don't live by the military code either. But both of those jobs have given me something and have given me a quality. The army gave me strength and confidence and that ability to overcome. But as a funeral director, I learned things like the difference between sympathy and empathy, and that gave me the strength to when I run my own business. So I use different career paths. One thing the army doesn't teach you is empathy, actually. So yeah, I learned that from a funeral director. So I've taken little qualities from all the jobs that I've had, and that's how I now put them into my everyday life.
Brilliant, thank you. We also have another question here from Rhiannon Morgan. She asks, as a part-time wheelchair user, I find that I am talking to or spoken to differently by strangers if I use my wheelchair. Have you had many similar experiences with public perception?
Do you know, it's funny. That is a brilliant question, right, Rhiannon? And I massively respect that question. The truth is that I haven't. Okay. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, right, but I'm quite a confident individual, right? So people generally don't get the opportunity to treat me or see me any differently. Okay. The one thing I have had though is people they don't understand wheelchair users, and that's something I have. So it's a personal thing. I always feel slightly more insignificant when I'm in my wheelchair than when I'm on crutches, and that was a massive issue for me at the beginning. Was I always felt like I wasn't the same as everybody else, and sometimes I still get that, but not as much. The more confident I am, the less I get it. But it's not so much a perception of other people to me, but it's a perception of how I felt I was being treated. Um, so yeah, I respect the question. I respect the answer. But yeah, on one hand, no, and on the other hand, yes. But I quickly realized that actually, the truth of the matter is, right, and this is genuine, no one gives a shit. That's the truth, right? Because let me tell you now, right, they're too busy with their own lives. People don't care. They're living their life. They don't care if I'm in a wheelchair or not. When they go home, they don't go to their wife, go, oh yeah, I met this guy there who was in a wheelchair. They don't. It just doesn't, it does have it's very little significance to them. So, but then they have very little significance to you, right? Because when you go home, you don't go, oh yeah, I was talking to this blonde woman today in Pets at Home. You don't do it. You don't care. You just crack on with your life. So I learned very quickly that actually the perception of other people was my own. And I also learned very quickly that the truth of the matter is no one massively cares about what's going on. So just live your life and be the person you want to be. And if someone treats you differently, that says a hell of a lot more about them than it does about you. And just always remember that. So you are you. You are Rhiannon Morgan, and no one else really matters. So ignore it. Don't worry about it. Just be you, and eventually they'll cop onto it. So yeah, that's my top tip and hopefully my answer to you.
And just to say thank you for that.
No worries at all. No worries at all. I tell you one thing that I have learned though, as a part-time wheelchair user, is I'll spend so much time sometimes out of a wheelchair that when I get back into it, I've forgotten what I'm doing. I'm crashing into stuff. Again, I just own that and laugh about it. But yeah, I don't know if you get that, Rhiannon. I certainly do. I kind of forget
I'm
what
exactly
doing.
the same.
Yeah,
I find the 3-point turns. I can't do a 3-point turn in the car, but I can do one in the wheelchair, no problem.
Yeah, there you go. See, I can run someone over in my wheelchair and get away with it. It's great fun. But yeah, so hopefully I've answered the question for you, Rhiannon. But always remember who you are, my love. Any other questions? What is this? Oh yeah, so I can't pronounce your name. Is it Sahala? She said, I agree, respect yourself Thanks for reminding us. You're a good guy. I'm just a guy, but I am glad that that you've taken that away. So thank you so much for the comment. Any other questions of anyone? That's brilliant. Nathan, over to you, mate.
Yeah, once again, Jamie, I really want to thank you for coming on board and sharing your story with us. I know that you've inspired a lot of people on this call, as you can see with the comments as well that's been left in the chat. Really appreciate your time coming onto the roadshow and sharing that story with us. So thank you very much, Jamie.
You know, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for me, I want to thank, you know, everybody on the call. I mean, there's 42 people on the call plus myself. And if you guys weren't here listening to what I had to say, it would basically be me in a room on my own talking to Leighton, and that doesn't really appeal to me. So yeah, so for me to you,
also that, thank you.
But yeah, no, I want to thank you guys for coming along and listening, because you guys are the stars of the show, right? I'm just here to do my thing and share my story. So thank you so much.
Leighton did mention a bit earlier on as well that he wanted to race you up Everest. So just keep that in mind, okay?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Evans, 45's next door, chap.
So guys, yeah, like I said, thank you.
I got one question for you though, very serious one.
Go for it, mate.
Did you enjoy your barbecues over the summer?
Yes. So right, this is the joys of community, guys, right? So Leighton put on that he had a free barbecue for going, and we were thinking, me and Charlotte, it was coming up to barbecue week, right? And Charlotte and I set ourselves this challenge to have a barbecue every day for a week. Right. It was her idea, right? I just went along with it. And so we're on Facebook. Leighton said, "Oh, I've got a barbecue. We'll have it." And it was so cool to just be able to do it. And we shot down there and we picked it up. And yeah, the joys of community. And actually, Leighton, since then, I've built a summer house and a pergola, and the barbecue's been built into the pergola now. So it's a permanent feature in my life, mate.
The temple to me.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I think of you every time I'm having a barbecue. And actually, I've managed to get, because it's one of those ones with the covers on. I'm going off track now. It's one of those ones with the covers on the thermostat. I actually managed to get my barbecue up to 290 degrees once. I know I cooked a whole ham on there, a whole gammon joint on the barbecue. So yes, mate, is the answer to your question.
Seriously, thank you for doing this afternoon, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure.
Did you learn anything like you did the last time you presented to me?
Did I learn something?
You don't remember?
I must have learned something. I generally do. It's a lot easier in a room. Do you know what, actually? Yes, I did learn, right? So I done a talk recently, right? And I've always remembered this lesson. I've never said it before. I used to say, when I started playing wheelchair basketball, I went from being the minority to the majority, right? And I was in a talk with Leighton, Leighton, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I said, when I'm here in this room, I'm the only disabled person in the room. But when I'm playing basketball, I'm not. I'm part of the majority. And later on, Leighton said to me, "I'm also disabled." And I was like, "Oh, are you?" And he said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "You're not the only disabled person in the room." And I learned that lesson that day, that actually it is just as easy for me to assume as it is for everybody else. And so, yeah, I quickly learned that day that I'm not the only disabled person in the room, and I shouldn't judge from that point. So the ball really does go from both angles. So yeah, I learned that. And once again, Leighton, I wasn't the only disabled person in the room again.
Quite correct. Quite correct.
So yeah.
But very inspiring, sir.
Thank you very much, Governor. Thank you very much. So listen, I'm going to love you guys and leave you. It's been, thank you again for having me. It's yeah, it's always a bit hard to do.
Brilliant. Just for all those on the call as well, just so that you know, coming up next at 3 o'clock, we have Mr. Leighton Morris himself. He's going to be doing the I Am 1 in 21 on the same day as you're using now. So you're more than welcome to join in with that as well.
Brilliant. I'm about to go and do this all over again somewhere else, because that's what, for some reason this week, that's what I do. So it's been lovely to practice on you guys.
Yeah, brilliant. Once again, Jamie, thanks very much for your time today.
No worries, guys. Take care. Have a lovely, lovely day. The sun is out. Spring is coming. And hopefully our paths will cross another time. You take care.
Thank you.